on this either. Look, the sheriff, etc. of a city. What does that mean? The sheriff, etc. Well, who's that, like constable and his the mayor or what? That is a county of itself to allow a checkbook for every poll book to give public notice to proceed to election within 8 days after receipt of the writ. Sheriff willfully, there's an offence. Sheriff willfully offending against this act may be prosecuted in the King's Bench. Sheriff offending against this act may be prosecuted in the King's Bench. So, why in the King's Bench? The sheriff can be prosecuted in the King's Bench. It says in those other charters that people can prosecute the sheriff. It's because it's actually connected to is that George II? The sheriff of a city that is a county of itself to allow a checkbook for every poll book to give public notice and to proceed to election within 8 days after receipt of the writ. So if the sheriff does not do that, he makes an offence and he can get prosecuted. Although I don't trust the sheriff with having anything to do with elections or the election of the sheriff either. The sheriff seems to be right in the centre of all these poll books and checkbooks and so forth to do with elections at this point. Given the fact that we were supposed to elect sheriffs as well, I don't like that. So making him an offence here, he gets prosecuted. Well, I guess if it's in connection with an election, he gets prosecuted at the King's Bench. That's like the election petition, isn't it? If there's a fraud, this is effectively like a very, very early little kind of clause regarding an election petition. That actually is, well, that is an election petition. The sheriff who willfully offending against this act may be prosecuted in the King's Bench. So that's an election petition, because if he does something wrong in regards to the checkbooks and poll books concerning the election, he gets prosecuted at the King's Bench. So this is like an early version of that election petition thing. It's really interesting seeing all these random little laws in this little index connected to certain things. Suits to be commenced within 9 months. How would you know if the sheriff had done it though? Well, if everyone finds out later that there was supposed to be an election. What, 9 months later? All statutes and to extend to such proceedings. All statutes of Sheffield to extend to such proceedings. This act not to extend to any city being a county of itself where the right of voting is in respect of a burgage tenanture, where the right of voting is in respect of or does not require the freehold to be the yearly value except such provisions are made for allowing checkbooks or notice of time, place of election upon sent of the Crown to a minor, the Parliament then in being continued for 3 years and such. Upon descent of the Crown. So that's interesting of itself, but anyway, so in some of those charters they had like a sheriff going round, or someone appointed from the town who would blow a horn to tell people it was time for the election. What happens if like they didn't go to certain areas or certain houses and let people know, so they didn't turn up and they just thought that they hadn't been, but the sheriff hadn't blown the horn? Maybe they could say that. Maybe they would call it out and say, well, we didn't hear the horn, he didn't come and blow it. Similar to that, but not with the horn, but actually with the actual material, the books.